Ho ho ho! We are continuing what I'm almost 100% positive is the last part of this. Basically, we're at the end. It's just that a little tired last time. It was late, but she was talking about how Canis um,
Blackmailed her, basically.
blackmailed her, threatened her, basically, and that's why he became the fixture and had this big cell and all of that. And Fender got us some extra time. Um, I'm thinking that she was the one who did it to get Canis out of the way because she felt threatened. Um, but let's see. I really don't think anyone could have done it but that dreadful man Canis. There's no telling what went on between him and the victim. Perhaps he simply took a disliking to him. He's certainly the type. But whatever the sordid details, it was him. He stabbed that poor man to death. And then he had his dog dispose of the body. That simply has to be what happened. The victim, Mr. Knight, yes? I did him the most terrible disservice. Yes, you killed him. I suppose you could put it that way. If I weren't such a sorry excuse for a warden, this would never have happened. And that's why I have to clean up this terrible mess. Warden Lagarde, as ever, your honesty is truly to your credit. I am certain Mr. Knight is looking down and weeping tears of gratitude. You've clearly never met Mr. Knight.
Hold it!
You seem very confident in your assertion. Why is that? Because all the other children in my little home are absolute sweethearts. They have faith in themselves and in one another. They have faith in the guards, in me. And they work hard every day to better themselves. None of them would dare commit murder. That's a very touching reason indeed, and I don't believe a word of it. But Canis, he's rotten to the core. He's the only one who would do something like that. That fox? There's no telling what went on between him and the victim.
Hold it!
Knight was being kept in a holding cell while Mr. Canis was in the prison proper. What could possibly have happened between them when they were at opposite ends of the facility? Prisons aren't as big as they seem, All kinds of awful things can happen. But Knight only arrived 2 days before he was murdered. I can't imagine anything significant happening in that short space of time. Then you don't know Canis, my dear. He'd find a way, I'm sure of it.
Hold it!
How could he take a disliking to somebody all the way over in the holding cells? Oh, I'm just plucking possibilities out of the air, darling. As I said, there's no telling what really went on between them. You're so awfully serious, aren't you? Not that I mind, of course. Why is she looking at me like that? So noble, so dashing in that marvelous suit, so clever. I can feel myself becoming your biggest fan, darling. I really can. Ugh. Stay with me, Mr. Edgeworth. I wasn't prepared for that mental onslaught.
You certainly can. You've got windy old bag and beefy regards.
Hold it!
What more can you tell us about those sordid details? Well, we all know what Canis once did for a living. I doubt the killing part gave him much trouble. Especially as the victim was already injured. His neck, I think? Couldn't turn his head to the right, poor dear. That's what they told me when they brought him in anyway. They must make some sort of report for the warden when new prisoners are admitted. You seem keen for us to think you didn't know much about Knight. That's because I didn't, sweetie, and the victim was simply a fun target to that monster, nothing more. I expect Canis to use the chisel that was hidden in that chess set, don't you? Awful grisly business. Just imagine. The man probably didn't have time to cry out. I see. Thank you for your thoughts. They were very helpful. Actually, I'd like to hear about them in a little more detail, if you don't mind. Oh, Mr. Edgeworth, you're making me blush. I would chat with you all day. Oh, don't look so nervous, darling. I'm only teasing. Of course we can talk about them some more.
Hold it!
Which chess set would that be precisely? Why, the one the victim brought in, sweetie. Do try to keep up. The victim was a certified chess fanatic, or so I'm led to believe. But the naughty boy snuck a chisel inside it. Can you imagine? How does she know about the chisel in the chess set? Only a few people were supposed to know about that. After all, we only learned about it thanks to certain deductions we made. So how did she find out? Of course, in the hands of a killer like Canis, even a chisel could serve as a deadly weapon. Oh, this is added too.
Hold it!
You seem to have very strong feelings in Mr. Canis. Well, of course I do. I told you what he did to me, and what an absolute menace he was to interrogate. Frickin' fox. He could slither out of anything, the snake. He sounds as tough as a rock. And that infuriating, self-satisfied look on his face when they took him back to his cell. Ah! My blood boils just thinking about it. I certainly don't blame her on that count. And then he had his dog close to the body. Surely you're not suggesting that the dog threw the body down the well. I told you already, darling, Canis has more dogs than that beastly creature. Remember, he has pets on the outside, too. I mean, he brought someone in from the outside the prison to help him commit the crime. Of course not, silly. How could they have made it through security? But he's a so-called fixer, no? Exercise that fabulous brain of yours a little. How hard would it be for him to recruit a dog on the inside, or even plant one? Interesting. And does this dog have a name? Well, if I knew that, my life would be so much easier now, wouldn't it? Anyway, it was just a little thought. You ponder it in your own sweet time, darling. She's a slippery one. I'm not going to be able to catch her with this line of questioning, it seems. Warden Lagarde's testimony is little more than a house of cards. I just need to push her down in the right statement to bring it all tumbling down. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be the chisel one. Now...
It doesn't show the money picture? Because it should have caught it?
I don't think he went through a gate. Like, this was hidden inside the dog's mouth, not the chess set. So I think it's the chisel.
Objection!
And I'm wrong. You see this evidence here. Huh. That's interesting. I really thought it was that.
I'm saying that she should have caught it. Why did she let him have it?
Yeah, and, hold on a sec. Knight hid the chisel in here to prevent it from being found by the prison staff. It wasn't...
I think she knows it came in with Knight.
Well, no, because it was hidden. She shouldn't have found it because she's part of the prison staff. Had the right idea, just wrong piece of evidence. Warden Lagarde, you strike me as being more careful than the image you project suggests. Oh, Mr. Edgeworth, please, call me Fifi, or Sweetie Pie if you prefer. However, I think you may have been a little less careful than you realize in this instance. Tee-hee, aren't you just the most adorable little creature? Don't be embarrassed, we're all family here. Ooh. Come on, Mr. Edgeworth, don't let her get inside your head. You said earlier that you didn't know much about Knight, in which case I find it rather strange that you know about the chisel. Well, of course I do, darling. Do you think we don't check prisoners when they come in? You're not talking your way out of this, Warden. That is entirely irrelevant and you know it. Knight didn't bring the chess set into the prison himself. It was brought by Mr. Saint when he came to visit. Knight wouldn't have had it with him when he arrived. What? I mean, of course, that when Mr. Saint came in, You checked him? I find that hard to believe, because if you did, that makes your story all the stranger. If you found the chisel, why did you not confiscate it then and there? Oh, that was new. Judge Gavel, did you tell anyone about the hidden compartment in the chess set? I did not. If no one leaked our findings, then how exactly did you learn about the chisel, Warden Lagarde? Because it certainly couldn't have been when you checked Knight or Mr. Saint on their arrival. Indeed, such a thing would imply an intentional oversight if it had been found, yet let through. Precisely. So, Warden Lagarde, and answer truthfully this time, where and when did you learn about the chess set? If you won't answer, then allow me. I submit that you... Alright, darling, there's no need to rub it in. You got me, alright? I questioned Knight. That was when I learned about the chess set. But please, you have to believe me, I did not kill him. One moment, Warden, this is a significant development. The court requests that you make a detailed statement on the record. Any objections, Mr. Edgeworth? None, Your Honor. Thank you, darlings. I'll clear up this awful misunderstanding, I promise. That fox. You know why she has a fox around her? Because she's a foxy lady.
Oh.
Her lies are starting to wear thin. This is my chance to expose her. See, from the beginning, I never wanted her to be the killer, just because I like the fox. That fox better not be in on it.
Well, she's saying that she didn't kill him. Is it possible that, like, she set him up for someone else to kill him to frame Candace? Like, or
I don't know.
she's a hard egg to crack.
I think she might just be a hard egg, although, to your point, we have had some twists. I mean, there were several times in this case where we thought it was several different people. But I feel like it was probably her
To
at this
get
point.
Candace out of her prison.
Yeah, I think that's a good motive. I think it's believable. She's not evil, or at least like she didn't come in doing all this evil stuff, but she made a very rash decision for her own safety, or so she thought. And even though Knight wasn't a good man, like, there was no due process. I said I questioned Knight, but it wasn't anything serious, you understand. I make a point of talking to every newcomer to our little home. Knight was no different. We just had a little chat, you might call it. And after we talked, I had him taken back to his cell straight away. The more she lies, the more thoroughly she seals her fate. So simply a conversation with a new detainee, that seems entirely above board. Exactly, Verity, darling. I knew you'd understand. Well, I don't. What proof do you have to back up your statement? I suppose we shall see, won't we? Mr. Edgeworth, you may begin your cross-examination. Yeah, can you imagine if she was the judge instead of the old dude in these things? She would be like... Alright.
Hold it!
So am I right in assuming that you talked to Knight the night before the show? Exactly, darling. It would have been, around 3 a.m. on the 27th? 3 a.m., that falls squarely within the window of time laid out in the autopsy report. That seems rather late for a friendly chat. Wouldn't he have been asleep? Normally, yes, but if you remember, a guard was attacked in his cell. We had to examine the scene of the crime, gather information. These things take time, sweetie. I assure you he was wide awake. We all were. Regardless, I find it somewhat odd that you would choose to question him at such a late hour. Oh, you're such a tease, aren't you? Ugh. Anyway, no matter how odd you think it is, I had him brought to me, and that's what happened. Must you really insist on questioning every last thing I say? Sorry, Fiefs, he's like a dog with a bone sometimes. I'll be sure to scold him once we're done. Though, would you mind giving us a little more info, like where you had him brought to? My office, of course. Where else? Her office, which is where we believe the body was moved from. Which, I love how Fender works. How he gets, like, the flirt going, but really just to get information so you know where he stands. Like, I like his character a lot. Tee-hee, anything for you, darling. It was around 3 a.m. the night before the show. I had them bring him to my office.
Hold it!
Remind me where your office is? You've seen the sign in the detention center corridor, I imagine. The one that says no entry? That's it, sweetie. My office is just up in there, a short walk from the holding cells. I understand that you also have access to the yard. Why, of course, that's where my gorgeous little garden is. And that's how I moved the body. So, yeah. Like how her face changed. You had the means and the opportunity. It's hardly impossible. Hardly impossible proves nothing. You have no evidence for this assertion. There's no other way that the body could have been moved. Surely you haven't forgotten that it was Mr. Saint who dropped Mr. Knight's body down the well? Yeah, what she said. You're miles off, Edgeworth. Oh, I see what he did there. Very clever. I probably shouldn't push this any further for now.
Hold it!
What did you and Knight speak about? Oh, nothing much. Just some small talk, really. I asked him about what animals he liked, what his hobbies were. His hobbies? Then I imagine you talked about chess. Oh yes, I couldn't stop him talking about it, in fact. He even had a piece of paper covered with little notes about it in his cell. At least, I think that's what they were about. So she's seen Knight's correspondence chess diagram.
Hold it!
How was he when you spoke with him? Oh, he was so open and honest, darling. Whoa, what? That guy? Honest? He was talking about one croissant and promoting a prod. I suppose he must have been hungry. En passant and promoting a pawn. It seems he spared no one from his obsession with chess.
Hold it!
If he really had gone back to his cell, he would still be alive today. You really think I murdered the poor man right there in my office, don't you? But what would my motive have been, darling? I told you I barely knew him. I'm no angel, I have my grudges against Canis, but Knight had nothing to do with that animal. She really does hate Canis. Warren Lagarde, I must insist that you append that statement to your testimony. Ah, but he did because he was playing chess with him. Let me see.
Objection!
Judge Gavel, I'd like you to take a look at this. Notes about a game of chess. What is the significance of this, Mr. Edgeworth? It was found in Knight's cell, which is exactly where you said you saw it too, Warden Lagarde. But you didn't just see the game in Knight's cell, did you? You've seen it in Mr. Canis' cell too. What do you mean?
Objection!
Oh, come now. Don't tell me you haven't taken a look at the chessboard in maximum security.
It's like she's getting electrified or ruffled.
I know. And then, like, the fox's fur takes over, too. I imagine you watch his every move like a hawk. Or rather, I imagine you feel that doing so is your only option. If she wants to find out who his cronies are, right? Personally interrogating your own prisoners is highly irregular, to say the least. But as you said, Mr. Canis had threatened you. He put your precious home at risk. That's why you took it upon yourself to question him. You wanted to find out who his dogs were. And so what if I did? You also told us you read his letters, which means you must have known one key fact. You knew he was playing correspondence chess. Ah! And then, who should appear but Knight, carrying with him a diagram of a very particular game. We ourselves used that diagram to infer a connection between the two men, and it seems you came to the same conclusion. But in your fear, you took your reasoning one step further. You surmised that Knight was Mr. Canis' henchman sent to kill you, which is the real reason she had that chat with the Bronxter. If his boss wouldn't crack, maybe he would. And when you questioned Knight, you made another discovery. For there inside his chest set, you found a hidden chisel. The murder weapon itself. As far as you were concerned, that chisel meant one thing: Canis. Thus, you convinced yourself the Knight was working for Canis, and that is why you killed him.
I didn't think of that angle.
Yeah. I didn't either.
So she was scared of Knight. She thought Knight was one of his dogs.
Yeah. And so she thought Canis had sent him to kill her. And he was a big guy, too. But it was just correspondence chess. Like, we don't even know if they knew each other. I see you have no more excuses. Judge Gavel, your verdict, please. Much as it grieves me, there would appear to be little room for doubt. I hereby give my verdict. Bronco Knight was murdered by... In the name of the goddess of justice, who is this time? He. Warden? He. It's a joke. It's all a big stupid joke. You people just don't get it, do you? I think we've proven that it's you who didn't understand things correctly. Me? Please, darling, I understand it all perfectly well, thank you very much. And I understand that there's a glaring contradiction in your theory, Mr. Edgeworth. We haven't seen this one yet, I don't think.
No.
You're just grasping at straws now. I have no time for this. Your Honor, the verdict. I am curious to hear what the warden has to say. What? You're a doll, Verity. I just have one last thing to say, then Mr. Edgeworth can declare himself the winner. You rang? Oh. Does anybody remember a certain autopsy report? Of course, we received the finalized version only this morning. That's right, and I was listening to what you told us about it, Verity, even if nobody else was. You said the wound was 4 inches deep. 4 inches? Wait. Riddle me this, Mr. Edgeworth. How does a tiny chisel make a 4-inch wound? Oh! Forgive me, O goddess. I came perilously close to making a terrible mistake. Looks like your theory is the one that doesn't hold water, Edgeworth. What now, Well, what do we do? It'll be fine. Mr. Edgeworth always comes through. Right, sir? Looks to me like the Miles Strawn's out of commission. You're an attorney too, aren't you? Why don't you do something? Turn things on their head with a desperate bluff. Blurt out the first mind-blowing thing that comes to you. Somebody wants a lot of Phoenix Wright things. Look, detective, I'm as much of a man of action as the next guy. But without evidence, we're up a creek without a paddle here. This might be the end of the road. We can't give up now. We have to do something. I'm certain that Warden Magard is the killer. It's the only explanation that fits the facts of the case. But if the chisel wasn't the murder weapon, what other bladed weapon is there here in this facility? It seems we still do not have all the answers.
Maybe she fed the gator?
That's right! Nor the evidence to provide those answers. Alas, we must wait until the trial to see this matter resolved.
Objection!
Oh! Oh, come on, G. You're just giving the killer a chance to destroy the evidence. Are you calling the judicial process into question, Mr. Fender? Eve, no, not me, nuh-uh. I tried, Miles. Any bright ideas? What is the real murder weapon, since it's clearly not the chisel? Confounded, this question throws everything we've deduced out the window. Nothing to add, Mr. Edgeworth? Allow me to remind you that claims not supported by sufficient evidence are subject to the harshest penalties. It's hopeless. I can't think of anything. I need more time. Loath as I am to admit it. You can't give up now. Remember when Mr. Fender said, Simeon's counting on us. Without us, he's... Remember how upset he was? He was devastated. Nobody's in more pain than him over Mr. Knight's death.
I still don't understand how they were friends, unless he's not as horrible a person as we think he is.
I don't know.
Because wasn't there like some speculation that like Knight really didn't have anything to do with killing
I mean,
the other guy?
There might have been, though he seems like the perfect suspect. But maybe later on in the game we find out it's all bunk, right?
Mm-hmm.
We could. I mean, we could. And what's more, he believes in us. He's sitting in that cell waiting for us to bring him some good news. And I, for one, won't walk away until we have some. Okay? Gee, Miles, your little buddy there is quite the motivational speaker. And she's right, too. If you find yourself on the ropes, think of your client. Picture them pleading with you to help them. Doesn't that make you want to fight back as hard as you can until the very end? Think of your old man, good old Gregory. No matter how bad things looked, he'd always find a way to turn it around and save his client. And you're just like him, right? If there's any way to force a turnabout here, you're the one who'll find it. Simeon's counting on you. Hey man, I appreciate that, but you are his attorney. Judge Gavelle, you seem to have recovered your composure, Mr. Edgeworth. But if you mean to attempt a defense, I would advise you to consider the ramifications. You have repeatedly proposed misguided theories and have made numerous false accusations. If you do so again, I will have no choice but to judge you unfit to serve as a prosecutor. That's fair, But didn't she also make some by thinking it was Simeon? And relieve you of your badge for good. She's right, I have put forward a number of theories that proved to be flawed in one way or another. Have I made some sort of fundamental oversight? Wait, she said my theories were misguided. Nothing to say? Then the court will tolerate no more of your time wasting. I hereby, Sir, Mr. Edgeworth, give my verdict. That's it. I've been thinking about it all the wrong way all this time. My theories weren't misguided. I was being misled. Defendant Simeon Saint. I think it's a little soon for that, Your Honor. I say it's well past due, darling. Wouldn't you agree, Verity? Mr. Edgeworth, you may proceed. What? I'd like to remind you of a few things. The sighting of his dog, Helmet, the fact that he wasn't at the show. These and other factors made Mr. Canis the obvious suspect at first. This again, Mr. Edgeworth, you seem almost proud of your blunder. But what if the real killer wanted us to suspect Mr. Canis? What if it was all carefully arranged? And what if the same was true of the chisel, our purported murder weapon? Knight had been stabbed multiple times in the same place with a bladed instrument. What if he was stabbed with the chisel after the real murder weapon had been removed? Just to leave traces of blood on it for us to find. This was how the killer misled us into thinking the chisel is the murder weapon. But why mislead us in this way? Why indeed? Why make us think the chisel is the murder weapon rather than whatever was really used? In order to get Canis transferred. Warden, you took advantage of what the chisel seemed to suggest. What it suggested? What are you talking about, darling? Mr. Winter, if I were to tell you the murder weapon was a chisel, what would you think? That Mr. Canis is the killer. And there you have it. That was the trap the warden set for us. Oh, Mr. Canis has a bunch of chisels, so she wanted us to think it was one of his, right? Indeed. That was her plan right from the start. To frame Bodhidharma Canis. Your reasoning would appear to be sound. Warden Lagarde certainly seems to harbor a deep and abiding hatred for Mr. Canis. However, I think you know what I am going to say next. That alone is not sufficient proof that Warden Lagarde is the killer. I knew that wouldn't be enough. There's only one thing that will prove it. The real murder weapon that we now know must exist. If you cannot prove your theory, then this conversation ends here. Also, do we have evidence of that? No. We don't have, like, the alligator here.
Objection!
If we could just find the real murder weapon. How many times do we have to go over this? We searched the prison from top to bottom. Eustace is quite correct. No other possible murder weapon has been found, so I'm afraid you're at a bit of an impasse. I can still prove my case yet, Your Honor, because it's still here inside this prison. This would have made sure of that. The security gate. I am glad you at least remember what it is. And do you remember what it does? Of course I... Which you mean... Oh, that's another typo. Which means you can't bring anything metal into the prison or take it out. Oh. Precisely. If there was another murder weapon, it cannot have been taken off the premises. Nor can it have been brought into the prison in the first place. So we find ourselves right back where we began. Judge Cavell, what I'm trying to tell you, Mr. Edgeworth, is that if you wish to believe that there was another murder weapon here in the prison, you will also have to explain to me how it got here. Alright, we know that the chisel was smuggled into the prison inside a pocket chess set, but our contention is that the chisel is not the real murder weapon. So if the weapon came from outside the facility, then there must have been a way to bring it in. Yes, the question of the hour is this: can you show me this alternate route? How did the murder weapon Warden Lagarde used get into the prison? Of course, that's how. The fact that this is here with us shows how a bladed object could have been brought into the facility as well. Let's expand that. borrowed evidence from police to help with your investigation. Everything related to Canis is with me now. Heaven knows how many times I've called the secretive scoundrel into my office to talk to me. The fact that this is here with us shows how a bladed object could have been brought into the facility as well.
Is it like the map showing how it could go through the gate into the yard? Turn the electricity off to the fence.
So that's a possibility. The chest that's a possibility just because of how things can be smuggled in. Tunnel? I really don't know if it's a building layout, but let's go with that because that was your first guess. Nice thinking. That's a great way to get something made of metal into the prison.
Overruled.
Indeed. That's adorable. So there isn't a way something made of metal could have gotten in here undetected after all? There is, and involves something coming into the prison. Involves things coming into the prison that weren't brought by a visitor. We have a piece of evidence that shows how metal objects could be brought in without raising the alarm. Stop stalling, Mr. Edward. Cut to the chase already. I hate to let her down again, so let's see. So, we have a piece of evidence that shows how metal objects could be brought in without raising the alarm. It involves things coming into the prison that weren't brought by a visitor. So, this was brought by a visitor, so this wouldn't make sense. involves things coming in that weren't brought by a visitor.
Can you go to paper?
Yeah, but I can't.
Okay. Is it the tunnel?
Because the tunnel does not go to the outside of the prison, from what I understand. It goes from the prison to the detention center, so I don't see how that would work. Security gates. The fact that this is here with us. I mean, I could see turning off the breakers so something could get in, but
What about the chisel with the bell on it? Because it was in the dog's mouth. And we think now that the weapon is in the alligator's mouth. So could it have come in inside of an animal?
might be a stretch for the game, but I'm going with it. No!
Overruled.
I don't understand what they're asking me for.
Because that's why I keep reading what it says. So there isn't a way something made of metal could have gotten in here undetected after all. There is, and it involves things coming into the prison that were brought by a visitor. We have a piece of evidence that shows how metal objects could be brought in without raising the alarm. I mean, I was thinking chest set earlier, but
Take that.
But that was brought by a visitor. Yeah, no, that doesn't work.
Take that.
Breakers, because you turn off the electricity.
Overruled.
No.
What's all those? Oh, yeah.
The breakers.
Oh, not that.
I already did that.
Oh, yeah.
Bunch. I'm just trying to think how stupid I'm gonna feel once we see what it is.
Is it the mail?
Mail? We don't have mail, hon. Where do we have mail as evidence?
What's in that envelope?
Prison roll call.
Oh.
Mr. Canis's bell. Allow me to remind you of our conversation with Mr. Canis yesterday. So you see, there is a way for objects to be brought into the prison unscrutinized, as part of the evidence Warden Lagarde borrowed from the police. What?
It's a little rumble on his face.
No, he keeps hitting himself. Mr. Canis's knife was part of the evidence in the case against him, and that evidence was here in the prison. Not only that, but the knife had a certain bell attached to it. The bell that was attached to the chisel. Correct, the killer took the bell from the knife and attached it to the chisel. That can't be right, the chisel only had Mr. Knight's fingerprints on it. The killer wore gloves. She made it look as if the chisel was the murder weapon and attached the bell to it. In doing so, she made sure that all the evidence pointed to Mr. Canis. And who had access to the evidence from which the bell was taken? Why, only the person to whom it had been entrusted. Who was it, sir? Who's been messing with the evidence? I believe that would be you. Isn't that correct, Warden Lagarde? Bells aren't exactly rare, you know. Anybody could have set that up. Oh dear. Haven't you been listening? Unluckily for you, that isn't quite true. These particular bells are unique because there are only 2 of them in existence. What? What? By attaching that bell to the chisel, you as good as declared yourself the killer. But you don't have any proof that the knife was ever even here to begin with. I don't. Not yet, anyway. Mr. Winter, I'd like you to order another search of the prison right away. Huh? But if you do find something, that's going to make things awkward for me. This isn't about what's convenient for you. We have to find the truth. You're a prosecutor, aren't you? Well, yeah, but you know. This worthless excuse for a prosecutor, if I had investigative authority, I wouldn't be sitting on it. Anyhow, it's not my decision to make. The warden would have to authorize it. You know full well that you will do no such thing. You have the power to insist on a search. Use it! Sorry, darling, but not without that evidence. The goddess of justice cannot bestow her blessings on those who lack the proof to support their claims. Our work here is done. The rest of this matter will have to be settled in the courtroom. No, if we give Lagarde the opportunity, she'll destroy whatever evidence is left. I have to object. I have to stop them. But what do I say? I don't have anything concrete to offer. What am I thinking? I'm never this reckless. No, I can't back down now. I've got to put everything on the line. I'm not a prosecutor right now. I'm an associate attorney with a client to defend. Only I can save Mr. Saint, and that means... even if my chances are 1,000,000 to 1, it's still worth a shot. It's now or never. Should I object?
Okay.
Object! I suppose this must be how a certain serial bluffer always feels. Regardless, I can now walk away.
Objection!
Wait, Your Honor. This had better be good, Mr. Edgeworth. I've got it. Got what exactly? The real murder weapon, of course. I know where Mr. Canis's knife is. Do you really, Mr. Edgeworth? I do, not at all. If I did not know better, I would say that you were bluffing. Ha! You wound me, Your Honor. I don't know the meaning of the word. This is terrible for my heart. There's no way you could. It's not here, I tell you. Well, would you be so kind as to enlighten us? Where's the real murder weapon? Think, Miles, think. Somewhere not even the police would search. A blind spot in this zoo. A hiding place that the warden could be absolutely sure of, like her own alligator. A hiding place? No. If you insist, come on, Helmet, open up.
That was really cute. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you use the same trick? Yeah. The more I think about it, how many foolproof ways to evade detection could there be? Mr. Edgeworth, how long do you intend to keep us waiting? There's the faintest possibility I'm right, but if I'm wrong, we stand to lose everything. Your Honor, this is where the real murder weapon is hidden. So, it's in the yard. We're in the yard, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the fence.
And then that's the pond.
Yep, and this is where the alligator is. Here in the yard? Indeed. I don't believe I understand. Would you care to explain a little more? Where exactly is the real murder weapon hidden?
Take that!
Of course. That's what it must have been. What's the matter, detective? It's the metal detector, sir. It's reacting to the alligator. What? How?
Barry's gonna be so mad that's inside the alligator.
I know. Your Honor, I'd like to remind you of this piece of evidence. Chisel? Didn't we just figure out that isn't the murder weapon? You might recall that Mr. Canis had this chisel in his dog's mouth. Would you believe that the real murder weapon was hidden in much the same way? Oh dear. That's right, the murder weapon is hidden inside the alligator in that pond over there. What? No way! At least the red mark comes off. We detected the presence of a metallic object during our earlier investigation. Judge Gavelle, we need to know what's inside the alligator. Understood. We will need to summon a veterinarian. I'm sure I can get the little sweetie to open up for us. She's just been on the side, listening to this whole thing. I'd be happy to give it a try. Please, by all means. Warden Lagarde, the real murder weapon is about to be revealed. Why not do the right thing and confess? I have nothing to confess. As you wish, then you can simply wait and watch as your lies are exposed. Sir, we got it. This has to be it. It's over, Fifi Lagarde. The real murder weapon was Bothid Harmacanis' knife, making you the only person who could have killed Bronco Knight. I'm not the criminal here. This is all Canis' doing. I did the right thing. Knight was a threat. He was Canis' lapdog. Curse the despicable man Canis. Why did he have to come and ruin my perfect little home? We could have been happy forever if it wasn't for him. He ruined my paradise on earth. He ruined everything. Curse him. Curse that pitiful butcher, that awful, terrible, despicable man. Curse him. Whoa!
They're ugly little foxes.
Yeah. Cute foxes. Prosecutor Thwinner, sir. Thwinner? The test results have just come back. Thwinner? I guess we've all been under a lot of stress. Traces of Bronco Knight's blood was found in Mr. Canis' knife. It's just like you said, sir. Congratulations on a stunning victory. Thank you, officer. Excellent work. You can continue complimenting me if you like. Yes, sir. Thwinner wins again. I think I'm welling up a little. With rage? Excellent work, Eustace. Just a few loose ends to tie up and we're done. Huh? What are you talking about? I just solved the case, didn't I? We have yet to confirm whether or not Knight really was working for Mr. Canis. It will be vital to know if Warden Lagarde was simply jumping to conclusions on that front.
That would be weird because then he got killed by mistake.
Yeah, that too.
Or was Bronco Knight working for him to kill the president for the other?
Boy, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
Even bigger.
I don't know. I don't know what to think here.
There's Clueless, and then there's you. Well, then I guess we better get back to our investigation. Alright, officer, you're with me. You're about to see the winner win a whole lot more. Prepare to witness first-rate investigative talent in action. Yes, sir. I'm right with you, sir. Can't wait to watch you at work. It's winning time! I expect this case will cause quite a stir. The attempted murder of a president is news enough, and now his would-be assassin has been murdered. But Knight never sought to kill the president in the first place. The truth is not always as important as it might seem, Mr. Edgeworth, in the eyes of both society and the law. How can you even say that? You do not have to believe me, however. As a prosecutor, Mr. Edgeworth is obliged to accept that this is the reality of the world he operates in. Being a prosecutor is about more than proving people guilty, that's what I believe. We are all free to believe as we choose, but the law is not to be toyed with for our own personal goals. If you refuse to accept this, then you must prepare to suffer the consequences. What does that even mean? Wait, you're not going to take his... Why would you take his anything? I'm afraid I must be going now. Farewell, Mr. Edgeworth. Judge Gavello's right. There must be only one set of laws for everyone. But if following the law means sacrificing the truth, can I really do that in good conscience? That reminds me of that one Simpsons episode where Jebediah Springfield, Lisa finds out he's a fraud. But like everybody celebrates Jebediah Springfield, and at the end, when she's about to announce her big evidence, she just says, "Oh, I just found out he's great." And when like the only other guy who knew the truth said, "Lisa, why didn't you say anything?" For her, it was more, it was okay for them to live out this fantasy based on how celebrating him makes them feel, even if it means covering up the truth. Simeon, you're out! I'm gonna make her jump until her heels can't take it anymore.
Okay.
See, I even won and she's still doing it. Hi, Regina. Is everything alright? They did let you out, right? Yeah, but I'm so confused about what's going on. Some guy just came and said I was free to go and that I have Mr. Edgeworth to thank. You sure do. Mr. Edgeworth found out who the real killer is. Wow, really? You did that for me, Mr. Edgeworth? Eve? Oh no, stop staring at me like that. I'm innocent, I swear, don't pull the rug out from under me now. Stop it, silly, it's true. He saved you, so say thanks already. Okay, thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. And a great big Regina Berry thank you from me too. Mr. Saint talking directly to me. Small victories, I suppose. Can I just ask one question, Mr. Attorney? Sure. I'm not exactly an attorney, though. I thought Bronco was my friend. No, my best friend. I trusted him. But now... Now? Well, it's just... I never knew. I never would have believed that he could hate somebody enough to want to kill them. If he kept something like that from me, then he never really trusted me, did he? That's not true, Simeon. Of course he trusted you. No, he didn't. If he had, he just told me I could have stopped him. I could have told him that hate never helps, that he had to let go of all that stuff. Mr. Saint, I think you're forgetting something. I should show him the thing that proves I trusted him.
The chess box?
Is it the chess box? See, I don't think there's anything else.
Because chess is like his favorite thing?
It is. He loves chess. I don't see how any of this would be it.
What does this chess box say?
It shows on here to prevent him from being found by the prison staff.
I don't like that second part, but... I think it makes sense, right?
Yeah. Mr. Sod's glove, the tarp, the door sensors, the prison roll call. We'll just go with it. It's the chess set I brought for him. Knight had hidden a chisel inside. I imagine he meant to use it to escape. Whoa, what? You mean he was using me? No, he believed in you. He knew he could count on you to bring it, and that you would never be so untrusting as to look inside. I imagine that by not telling you, he was hoping he could keep you from getting caught up in his mess. Oh. Bronco, why didn't you tell me? At least you understand now, right, Simeon? I'm sure he does. He may not show, but Simeon's no dummy. A good night's sleep and he'll be completely over this whole thing by tomorrow. That's not as complimentary as you think it is. I'll try. I have to, for Bronco, and to show him I can become the best animal trainer out there. That's the spirit. Oh, I almost forgot. We're doing a new show soon. I'd love it if you could come, Mr. Edgeworth. I'll be joining Regina on stage for this one. Oh, that guy on the left. I remember him. He was the guy we defended. Third case of the second game. That's right, the Berry Big Circus is the biggest, most fabulous event in town. You'll have oodles of fun. Sounds great, doesn't it, Mr. Edgeworth? Come on, we have to go. Well, I'll think about it. Alright, Simeon, we've got some training to do. I think it's time you and Regent got acquainted. What? Regent the tiger? No way, I can't. No. You'll be fine, silly. You'll never meet a nicer kitty cat. I can't. Please, Regina, anything but that, please. Another satisfied customer. Well, that was really something, Smiles. Talk about pulling it out of the bag. I couldn't have done it without you, Fender. Without your timely intervention, she would have gotten away. Besides, I have you to thank for even being able to investigate the case in the first place. Oh, stop it. Pat me on the back any harder and you're going to make me blush. Or topple over. I suppose we would be asking too much for you to take this seriously. Seriously? Miles, my friend, I'm always serious. Anyway, how does it feel to save an innocent client? That's what it means to be an attorney, after all. To be an attorney. Gotta say, I had a blast. Reminded me of the good old days. Like Gregory was standing there right beside me. It's been like a zillion years since I felt this warm and fuzzy on the job. That's good? Bittersweet? Not sure. Say, Miles, you ever thought about going into the defense game full-time? Excuse me? You know, pick up where Gregory left off. Get out there and actually help people. Hey, pal, don't get any big ideas. Mr. Edgeworth ain't about to switch sides. Why not? Coming over to the light side's all the rage. Everybody's doing it these days. Come on, Mr. Fender, you know it's not about that. Chill, team, chill. Don't get it twisted. I'm just asking a perfectly innocent question. No, you weren't. The heck you were. Hehehe, looks like you've got a mean defense team there yourself, Miles. Fender, I am prosecutor. Yep, and I'm an attorney. You could be one too. I'm serious. Well, I said my piece. You change your mind, you know who to call. I'll be waiting. Follow in my father's footsteps. Could I really do such a thing? I'm going to become a defense attorney just like my dad. An attorney like my father. Me? I don't know if that's a dun-dun-dun. Beefy. The next one's called Turnabout Legacy. But for the stream, this would be it for the stream for this case. So we've done the second case, we've done the captive turnabout. Next one's Turnabout Legacy.
So we're laying a lot of groundwork. We don't know if Bronco's working for Canis, really. We also don't know if he really tried to kill the president. We don't know what's going on with Shelley the Killer.
Shelley would be an interesting one. I was under the impression that we know for a fact he wasn't trying to kill the president at all because he was in on the whole fake. So I don't know if that's at all a mystery, but as far as like other motives and stuff, yeah, I do wonder if there's more there. Definitely, we have more like Edgeworth trying to figure out what it means to be a prosecutor versus an attorney versus if there is a difference in in actuality, I guess. So yeah, a lot of groundwork being laid here.
Do 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 do.
Do, 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 do. All right, that's it for case two. That had a lot of twists and turns.